24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Middle Path Radio, your Islamic companion.
Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening and welcome to another evening of Straight Talk here at Middle Path Radio. Eid Mubarak to everyone. I hope you have had a wonderful Eid. Tonight's topic is linked to Eid. What is the relevance of this celebration? I know what you're thinking. We've heard this topic of Hajj many times throughout this month. Almost all the Friday khutbahs were on Hajj and why and how it needs to be performed, and the reward and the sacrifice we need to make, etc. But have you ever thought about what is the objective of this ritual? Has it been stripped off to purely individual ibadat? Does it represent brotherhood and unity? If so, what is the practical expression of these sentiments? The story of Ibrahim alayhis salam and Ismail alayhis salam is not just a story, but how does it connect to our lives and the situation of the Ummah today? How do you see Hajj? We would love to hear from you. Tell us what you think and how it should be understood. 07477080248, or you can tweet us at Middle Path Radio. Also, don't forget you can download our app from the App Store or for the iPhone and Android. And a special reminder, we have a Straight Talk with a live audience which takes place every month. And next event is on the 6th of October next month. If you'd like to attend and would like to take part, please contact us via our website, which is straight-talk.co.uk, or you can text us on 07477080248 with your name, contact detail, age, and maybe profession. Here to discuss and give us nasiha on this topic of Hajj and unity, we have our two distinguished guests, Brother Abdul Wasil, Khatib of Canary Wharf, and Brother Abu Ummah, who is regular to Straight Talk and a teacher by profession. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Jazakallah khair for coming down.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Okay, let me start with Brother Wasil. Please explain to our listeners, how is Hajj a symbol of collective ibadat, an expression of unity?
Expression of unity. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So, Hajj, is one of the pillars of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
And it is known as an annual pilgrimage to the Holy House in Mecca.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Baqarah that وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا, that for Allah is to make pilgrimage to the house for whomsoever is able to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially from that verse, it is known by necessity that Hajj is one of the pillars from the five pillars of Islam.
Yeah.
And it is mandatory on a sane adult, able-bodied Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
In a hadith reported by Omar ibn al-Khattab in one of the collections of Imam an-Nawawi, and then the hadith says that once we were sitting with the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that al-yawm, on that day, iftala alayna rajul, a man appeared to us, shadidu bayadu sawab, that his clothing was so white as never been seen before. Shadidu sawadu shar, that his hair was so black and shiny as never been seen before. La yuru alayna athru safar, and we sitting with the Prophet, we the companions of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam, we do not recognize this man from amongst us. So, لا ير علينا أثر السفر ولا يعرفه منا أحد. None of us knows him. We do not recognize him from the community. حتى جلس إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, until he sat very closely to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. And then he goes asking the Prophet, أخبرني على الإسلام. Ya Muhammad, akhbirni ala al-Islam. Oh Muhammad, what is Islam? Tell me what Islam. What is Islam? And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, Al-Islam an tashhadu alla ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. It is to testify that there is none worthy of worship, there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is a very long hadith, and what I'm sort of interested is to bring out. So the Rasul said to testify that there is only one God, and he, Muhammad, is his slave and messenger. It is to establish the salah. It is to fast in the month of Ramadan. It is to pay the zakah, and it is to make the pilgrimage, the visit to the house, in istata ilayhi sabila, for whomsoever is able to do so. So this hadith, this famous hadith from the collection, which is the very first hadith in the collections of An-Nawawi, Imam An-Nawawi, the 40 hadith, tells us and indicates how significant the pilgrimage to the house, which is Hajj. And Hajj is a symbol of unity. Now, you would see that as soon as you get to the airport, a lot of people from all around the world. You get to Jeddah, you see people from all around the world coming from all corners of the globe, and coming to serve the same purpose, coming to honor in worship a single Lord. So all these people coming from different directions, different corners of the world, they are coming for a single purpose.
So you can see them united, isn't it?
So you
have
see
the
them,
black, the Asian, the white, the Chinese. Everyone's there with the white clothing.
exactly.
And
That
you see from a physically you can see the unity. Yeah?
exactly. So that essentially signifies the solidarity in the obedience of their one God.
Okay, brother Abu Umair, let me come in. How do you see this? What's your take on this?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa
Wa alaikum assalam wa
barakatuh,
rahmatullah.
and thank you for having me on the show again this time. Well, the way I actually see, Hajj, I think there are in terms of unity, expression of unity, and collection of ibadah. You see, Islam mandates Hajj, and this Hajj obviously
I think
is a
brother Abdul Wasil was explaining, the faraid.
So it mandates fard.
Yeah.
And I would actually look at it in this way, that it does not actually mandate just any old ibadah. It's actually mandating a international gathering, the Muslims of the whole world coming together, as the brother Wasil was saying, in different streams across the globe and merging into one point, which is the central part of the globe, which is in Mecca. Now Islam mandates this. Now if we look at it, this mandate is actually a mandate of unity. And we see unity in many forms. If we look at in our own country, we see that in our local community we have the expression of unity when it comes to the 5 daily prayers. We come in Jama'ah. If we look at the
Friday is another example.
Friday, for example, the Jummah prayer. If we also look at the Eid prayer, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that we should do it openly. So this is also a yearly thing. If you can't go to Hajj, wherever you are in your own country, display that unity, and don't display it in hidden form inside an internal four walls of the building. Go outside and go to Idgah, as we would say in our Asian side of the
But
world.
saying that, can I stop with saying that if you look at Hajj, it is, perceived to be a celebration of unity, isn't it?
Yes, definitely it is, and this is what I'm saying, that there are different forms of celebrating the unity of the Muslims. We find it in locally, nationally, in community-wise, like we said, if we can't afford. But however, in Hajj we find that it is an international gathering of all Muslims, and not only that, all Muslims of different localities. But the unfortunate thing over here is that I would have wanted actually to see this Hajj and this celebration celebrated, broadcasted worldwide in the main TV channels, not just Islam channels like, for example, we see in Britain.
Yeah.
So, for example, when we see the Olympics that happened in Rio or in London,
Very good
we
example,
find
actually,
that how the state actually takes control of the display and the expression and the celebration of this event. They actually mention like this nation is coming, that player is coming, this ex-player who has won this many gold medal is coming, and it's an early on introducing,
preparing
it's
you,
preparing the nation, preparing the whole world, the people of the whole world, to say that, look, we are hosting this and we are bearers of this, of this event. And Muslim state, like, for example, like the if we had an Islamic state, if we had a proper Mumineen
Islamic government,
yeah, then we would have seen the similar situation, not only in local news. Sometimes this, unity is actually downplayed. So instead of, let's say, 11 million people gathered, you would find that, news outlets of the world would say only 1.5 million people gathered.
I think the point you've made about the Olympics, I think that's quite important. Very, very nice example, yeah. And what this is a thought that you've triggered, and is that, look, it has become political. Olympics has become political. If you look at nations, the prime ministers, the MPs, the presidents, they all somehow have a hand in there. We've seen it with the Russian Olympians.
And they do come as well.
Yeah, I mean, there was the drug taking issues. Yep. That was something that was highlighted. And it wasn't the particular players or, Olympians, but it was actually the nation that they
state sponsored.
Yeah, that's it. They were saying state sponsored. Yeah, sorry, Abdul, what's your thought on this?
Again, Hajj is known as the largest annual gathering of people of the world, and as you can see, the number goes up to about millions. Millions of people. And if millions of people are partaking in the same actions at the same time to achieve the same goal, I think that is a great demonstration of unity. And then I think...
But why do you think it's not celebrated? I mean, the point that, how can we not see this expression? Why do we not see this expression like the way we see the Olympics?
Right, okay, so so the essence of unity within Hajj. Now it is for... The reason I think is not celebrated as such is the fact that I think we as Muslims, generally, we forget that every single act of ibadah is teaching us something practically. Like the salah, it tells you pray, the hadith or the collections on salah is mainly encouraging you timekeeping. That if you pray in Jama'ah, you get 27 reward. If you pray alone, you get just one. So I think the reason it's not being celebrated is that we Muslims generally, we only focus on the actual ritual aspect of it, forgetting that there is actually a lesson that we can take outside and apply to our daily mundane, in terms of if 1 or 2.5 or 3.5 million of people can gather in a particular place at a point in time, why is it so hard for us to unite in the other?
Okay, let me. If you've just joined us, we're discussing Hajj and unity. We would love to hear from you. Tell us what you think. Do you think Hajj should be just a ritual and it should be left alone? Please, you can ring us 074-77-080-248, or you can tweet us at Middle Path Radio. Please contribute, get in touch. Let us know what you think. Are we discussing something that is quite obvious and we know it's unity? But sorry, Abu Umaid, you wanted to come in?
I mean, the thing is, what I wanted to also say that, for example, if we did had a Islamic system in place, and if we did had a Muslim leader which represented all the Muslims around the world, we would have found that this, even if people actually had the misunderstanding of focusing on the ibadah issue, because the whole system would be actually upholding this event, they would actually, shower in the the international facets of this and broadcast it worldwide. They would perhaps would have actually mentioned that which wali from which country and which province is coming, introduce the subject, introduce the event in that kind of way. But we don't see that happening.
So how does in practice how does the Hajj in practice eradicate all form of barriers that cause a division in it in the Ummah? How does it do that?
I mean, again, the thing is, just like, for example, we don't see this, stately and magnanimous, expression throughout the world.
But without the state, how does can Hajj actually, get rid of these barriers and unite this Ummah? By performing
we
Hajj.
see a semblance of unity actually within Hajj, within the precincts of the Hajj. So when all the people actually go to Hajj, they actually wear, a two-piece of cloth, which is called the ihram. And this ihram is actually, one is actually, wrapped around your, waist and, below your ankle for the men. And the top part is actually, sort of like, draped.
Yeah, but that doesn't unite the people. Yeah, I mean, what unites them?
But the thing is, I just wanted to, give the, positive side and also show the other side as well. So we can see a semblance of unity in the sense that, for example, the rich and the poor, they all wear the same clothes, white cloth, and everyone actually, circumambulating the Kaaba, doing the same thing. There is no differentiation between rich or the poor, or was it, as I was saying,
white.
Black or white, or for example, like whether he's a king or whether he's a footsman.
Well, there is actually, because the last time I went, one of the prince came in and he blocked Mina, and there was a lot of issues. Well, was it last year or a year before that? A lot of people died, and there was a rumor going around because the prince came and they blocked that little area or whatever, and then a lot of people got crushed.
Yeah, however, generally speaking, yes, you have this, one or two anomalies, if you would like to say. But generally speaking, when it comes to the general performance of it, we find that there is no disparity. However, we do find, yes, you're absolutely, correct on this, that we find disruption when these sort of things happen. So, but the thing is, this is only limited to the precincts of the Kaaba and the Hajj itself.
Yeah.
But when the actual Muslim come out of Hajj, you see, all this disunity actually, goes away. But unity goes away. The unity goes away.
Yeah.
Even the unity, the focus, all of these things goes away. If we look at the famous quote by Malcolm X, for example, when he visited the Hajj, he was part of the Nation of Islam. And he said he was so amazed by the sheer sight of the Hajj that he said that, the bluest of the blue eye, the darkest of the darkest skin, all side by side, performing, going to salas, making sujood, eating. There was no conflict or no racial tensions between them whatsoever. So because of that event, he actually left a racist organization called, Nation of Islam. So just wanted to prove the fact that there is this, unity that we see, but it's only a semblance of unity, as I said. But when the people come outside of that, the unity goes away. People are divided into different nations, and it is being reinforced by the governments of the world.
Maybe you can actually come in, or brother Abdul Wasil, you can come in as well. I've just got a text that I'll read out. It says the Muslims in Pakistan and Bangladesh, which is quite close by, we know that, celebrated Arafah and Eid on a later date than Saudi. Yeah. Is that really unity? So we talk about ibadat issues. They celebrated Eid, Arafah in 2 different days. How do you unite, brother Abdul Wasi? How do you solve this problem?
Right. So I think the first thing is to ask them why they are celebrating Yawm al-Arafah on a different day as the rest of the Muslims. So you need to understand why.
So Bangladesh does 1 day, Pakistan does after 2 days, I think.
Right. So I still think you need to ask them why is the level of their knowledge. Mm-hmm. Do we need to educate
They're scholars.
them?
The point is, there are scholars.
Right.
Yeah, you and me, maybe I'm not a scholar. I'm sure brothers here are more learned than me, but there are scholars that they are very well versed into the legislation, into the rulings.
Right. Okay.
So why is it that they do it 1 day after? That's shocking. This is what, you look at non-Muslims, they look at this and they think, well, look, it doesn't make sense.
It is unfortunate, but
it is. So, okay. So, Abu Omar, what's your thought on this?
Definitely, one of the reasons is that there is no consensus amongst the leaders of the world.
What about the sheikhs?
The sheikhs, unfortunately, if you look at Bangladesh now at the moment, you'll find that a particular section of the ulama is castrated away or outcasted, if you like, because they believe in a particular thought of Islam or particular line of thinking, which is political in nature. So they would, for example, say, if the Arafat is in this day, then we all need to make, Arafah on this particular day. They will actually mention that, for example, that we need to unite as a Muslim, or they will actually say that, Muslim and countries, their war, their peace, and their mission should be one. Those who hold those kind of views, they are basically outcasted. They are basically put in prison, or they are downplayed. But those ulama which actually agrees with the status quo of the government, if the government wants to actually say that no politics, no political thinking, or outside of the remit of this country is allowed, those ulama which actually side the government, you'll find that those ulamas are funded. Those ulamas are actually, their voice is actually, expressed highly within the mainstream media. So these are some of the, causes why
I've got a text
we have this.
I'm going to take a lot of this text. Sorry, I've got questions, but I do want to take the text.
Can I comment on that before you go for the text?
So
I think looking at that question again, I don't see how that is possible, because celebrating Arafah on a non-Arafah day, because Arafah, the mount, when we say Yawm al-Arafah, it is the day that the Muslim go on the hill of Jabba, of the mountain of Arafah to seek Allah. So the Hujjaj will go on the hill to seek Allah's favor, to seek Allah's forgiveness. And this actual act of worship is bound by location, is limited by location. So I've struggled to find how people this is it. How are they able to celebrate accurately on a day that the people are not? So if I take a plane and travel to Jeddah, make my way to Arafah today, then it's not Arafah for me, right? So if anyone is celebrating Arafah
on another day,
then
so even the Eid is a day after what we do here. And if you look at it, it's not 24-hour difference from Pakistan and Saudi Arabia. It's not that much of a difference.
Exactly.
But anyway, I just want to quickly take a text, because I think it's related to what Brother Abu Umair was saying. The text says it is. Oops, I've got another one here. Okay, it is very hard to talk about Hajj without making a mention of the political stance. Political stance Saudi Arabia. They look after the Hujjaj in one hand, and in the other starve the Muslims of Gaza. What should be our stance? Iqbal from Lewisham. We've got another one. The Saudi government are deemed as racist 11 months of a year, and nice in the month of Hajj. Sorry, the racist in 11 months of the year, nice in the month of Hajj. My own experience of them treating the poor people and people working as street cleaners has really left a bad taste. This unity has to start at home. Bilal from Bow. Interesting.
I mean, definitely, the state of Saudi Arabia, although, Allah has clearly mentioned this in the Quran. Allah says that, those who actually give water to the pilgrims and those who are actually custodians of the holy sites, it is not enough. They are not as equal to those who actually strive in the path of Allah and those who believe and strive in the path of Allah. So here we find that Allah is saying those who believe in the mission of Islam, the values of Islam, these people are much higher in degree than those people who actually merely just give water and food and are custodians of the holy site like the Mecca and Medina. So Allah distinguishes that, and we know that presently the Saudi government is actually a kind of an apartheid state in a way, if you like, because all those people who actually go to actually work in that country, they are treated as non-equal citizens. They're treated as
the same way in this country as well, isn't it? If you're from Europe, India, you can get work permit and come here. You're not really a citizen. You see? So, what's the difference?
The difference is, for example, like if you go through a system of called wakala or something, then you're bound by that, employer. You can't actually detach from that employer. You can't work in a different city. You're basically tied.
But my point is, being a Muslim doesn't give. There's not any.
And the other thing is, not only that. You see, Saudi women, a foreign national cannot, marry a Saudi women as well. So there are a lot of, apartheid issues within Saudi Arabia itself, and we find that yes, just by merely hosting the Hajj doesn't necessarily mean that a particular country is actually a symbol of unity. And that this is what I wanted to actually say.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we still remain one of the most disunited nation in the world.
And you see, what used to happen before? You see, in the history, you'd find that even the Mamluks, even the Ottoman Empire, the Ottoman Islamic State at the time, they used to actually, enforce sort of like escort to those people who are going to Hajj.
Yeah.
There used to be there used to be a road called the Hajj route, where all the people from around the world will be taking a particular route, and those routes will be like protected and guarded and escorted by they
didn't need a visa then,
by the Islamic State.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, today you would find that this Saudi government, we hope that they change their stance, that they are actually barring the Iranians from coming in, just because the Iranians held a view, or Iranians actually in a stately,
I think
in a state form, they actually rebuked the Saudi government for the previous year mayhem of the stampede mayhem. So they were actually commenting on that. They were actually blaming the government. So this year they've been actually barred. Not only that, because there are a lot of political issues. So we find that the true symbolic unity doesn't actually occur. It's only when it comes to the rituals.
You've just said something.
Were they barred, stopped from coming, or they chose not to come?
Yeah, it could be that. Now, I think the point you've made here, and I want to maybe catch on that. You said there's a lot of political issues. Yeah, and that's my point. That is Hajj, is it a ritual, or is there politics? And if there is politics, then this is not an Islamic politics. You see, we can talk about the Islamic politics where we say that there has to be unity, and there shouldn't be nationalism, and there shouldn't be tribalism, and all those isms coming in. You see. Now, my point is that Hajj has become a political football, really. So you talked about Iran, you talked about Saudi Arabia looking after the thing. Even Britain has a say. If its citizens are, not looked after, they demand something. Do you see? So my point is, it has become political, but maybe for the wrong reasons. Yeah.
Well, so I think first of all, Hajj, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So the hadith I was quoting in the beginning.
Yeah.
So the very end of the hadith, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked Omar that when the man departed, that do you know who that was? Omar said, Allahu wa Rasulu a'lam, that only Allah and his messenger knows best. And then the Rasul replied by saying, it was Jibril, atakum liyu'allimukum deenikum. So it was Jibril, and he came unto you to teach you your deen, your religion. So by the definition of deen, it is a way of life, right? So as-salah, was-siyam, was-zakah, wa-hajj, what jihad, and all of these things, they are act of worship as well as a way of life. So the question is it political or is it an act of worship?
And as I said, life is a very important point you've made.
Exactly. Yeah. So a way of life is not limited to the masjid,
just the
right?
ritual, yeah.
And that's why I said in the beginning that majority of we, the Muslims, we need to start to understand that every single act of worship that's been prescribed in Islam is to teach us how to implement it in the all eternity of our living in this world.
Let me quickly, Jazakallah khair about the Abdul Wasil. Let me quickly take a text. The text reads, show of unity would be if Saudi monarch distributed the wealth with the Ummah, a bit like Jeremy Corbyn's proposal to share the wealth. Imran from Bo. Yeah, please, we're discussing Hajj and unity. We've just stumbled on the political nature or the reality of Hajj at this present moment, how politics has crept in, and it's not just a ritual. There's a lot of factors that is involved. So send us a text, or you can ring us actually. Our number is I've got it here. Our number is 074-7708-0248. You can tweet us at Middle Path Radio. Let me. Yes, go for it.
I just wanted to actually add something. You said that the politics has actually crept in the Hajj, and it's crept in a negative way. But actually, the whole Hajj ceremony or the whole Hajj event is actually a political nature as well. And the reason why I say that is to actually display. You see, Prophet ﷺ, when he was performing the Hajj, as we know, there's something called the tawaf, and around the Kaaba, the Muslims are required to actually anti-clockwise, rotate around the Kaaba. And when we rotate around the Kaaba, we find that Muhammad ﷺ said to the pilgrims, he educated the thing about Ramal, and he said the Ramal is actually staunch. When you actually going around the Kaaba, you go in a staunchy way. Yeah. And he actually mentioned the reason why you should go in a staunchy way, if I'm using the right word. Is the first to show that you're not tired. To show that you're not tired. But he actually to actually show your strength. He said to actually show your strength to the enemies of Islam. This is the significance of Ramal. And for that, I wouldn't have mind if I was the state of the Amirul Mumineen, and Wafa was actually conducting the Hajj, I would actually make sure that this happens, and make sure also embed within that, for example, Russia actually displays its armaments, America actually displays sometimes, not America, Korea or other countries, even sometimes Britain, they actually
show the force.
Show their force with all these, missiles and, all these tanks, I would also, in a similar sort of
Saudi Arabia does that, Pakistan does that, all these countries do that, but what's the point?
But the point, the point is that they are actually using it and displaying it for the right reason.
All right, I've got this text. It says, Hajj reminds me of a sleeping giant.
Yeah.
Don't the guests have any thoughts on the statement Iqbal from Lewisham made? So this person is obviously following our text messages. Let me just read out what Iqbal from Lewisham, he said, it is very hard to not to talk about Hajj without making a mention of the political stance Saudi Arabia. They look after the Hujjaj in one hand and in the other starve the Muslims in Gaza. What should be our stance? So from what I understand is that, look, we see this unity when once a year we have this Hajj. And these leaders come out, these politicians come out, and they say, look, this is Hajj, this is unity, and they praise Hajj, which is good. I think this is a good thing. But in the same hand, they are bombing, their next door neighbor. They're supporting, tyrants in the Middle East like Israel and so on and so forth. Yeah. Where is the unity, and how do Muslims view this? They can see their double standard, isn't it? I think that's what he's trying to say.
I mean, the thing is, in the minds of the Muslim, whoever actually goes to Hajj, you see, what they're thinking about is, look, I want to perform this, lifetime ritual. I will actually, quote within a speech mark, ritual. And when they actually go to Hajj, they what they would actually see is that, look, I'm going to actually rinse my, all my sins before I die. So they would actually ask forgiveness from people's kith and kin. But the way, this is all fine and good, but the way Hajj should be actually looked at is also, as I said, is a symbol, it is an international and symbol of unity. Yeah, this is how it should be looked at. And unfortunately, this is not actually, expressed well enough. Even at the time of Hajj, as I said, in terms of broadcasting it the way it should have been broadcasted, and actually, I
mean, I alhamdulillah, I've been to Hajj and I've come back inspired, but then resumed a normal life again, despite witnessing injustice, corruption, and the ignorance in the Holy Land. I mean, what can our listeners do to change that? I mean, we'll come back. We can see that we had a fantastic experience, but we come back and it's all we know that, look, there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of injustice. We felt some of those injustice whilst we were there. I mean, what can we do to change that?
I mean, yes, I mean, when we go to Hajj, I mean, when I went to Hajj in 2012, I stayed in a place called Nisfala, and I saw, the poorest of the poor people, actually, boys, goats, just in the...
Did you just say goats?
Yeah, goats, sheep, if you like, and they were just, playing about, and we witness the poverty, sheer poverty around that area. However, we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed this land with oil, blessed this land with the Arabic language, blessed this land with the message of Islam. And so much so close to the precinct of the Kaaba, and especially a place where an international event like Hajj is performed, we should not have actually witnessed all these things. And also, for example,
we don't see the poverty in Saudi Arabia. There's I've been reading around. There's a lot of poverty in Saudi Arabia, even though it's a rich country.
Yeah. And you were mentioning that when we go, we find we actually experience a certain experience about ritual and spiritual high. But it should be also, as I said, a stately thing in terms of like the Ameer of Muslims should be giving the khutbah in the end. For example, the day of Arafah, if you like. The Arafah was performed by Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he actually
So was there corruption in? I mean, give us a background in terms of Makkah, in terms of the early Hajj, and what was it? They did have ritual. They did have corruption, did they not?
They had corruptions, but Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he established the state, he made sure that he actually.
When you mean the state, you mean Islamic ruling. Yeah?
Islamic ruling.
Let's get that clear. Yeah, because when we talk about state, we can talk about Saudi Arabian state, Pakistan state, and so.
When he actually established the Islamic systems of ruling, we find that the true unity had occurred. We found that the Aus and the Khazraj was truly united. We found that the Muhajirin and the Ansar were truly united. We also found that even Jews and the Christians who were living, along side by side with the Muslims, they were all, obedient to the statesperson who was Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself. So we saw the true unity. Not only that, we found that injustice was actually removed.
Yeah.
We also saw, for example, like Bilal radiallahu anhu. I mean, Kaaba is one of the most precious of sites. But Allah Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually ordered Bilal, who was in the pre-Islamic time, he was a son of a slave woman. And this is something was really looked down upon. But he was actually ordered to actually stand on top of the Kaaba and give azan. And look at the status of humanity or human beings that Islam has actually came and how it eradicated. We found Bilal, the ex-slave, if you like, when he became Muslim, when he was under Islam, he was the best of all person. He was, he is labeled as the first 10th person who will enter the Jannah. He was ordered to give the adhan on top of the Kaaba, and this is the true symbol of unity when it comes to black and white, when it comes to rich and the poor. We saw that, but however, we still find that internationally today, Islam. Those who are actually statesmen of the world, they are actually scattered in 56 nations, and where it should be only one person, Brother, one leader.
If you want to come in, please don't be shy.
Right. So I think the brother raised a really good point, and I think also that when we talk about unity, whenever we talk about unity, we need to know exactly what are we talking about. Right, because the brother cited Bilal ibn Rabah radiallahu anhu, and when the Rasul ordered him to make the adhan, the people were like, why him? Why not? Right?
Why not the rich amongst us or the noble?
So they had. We need to know the Ummah has shortcomings. We will continue to have shortcomings because we are humans. But it's for us to take what Allah has given us and use that to correct ourselves, right? The essence of Islam is not to make us angels on the land. It is for us. So Islam is not asking us for perfection. But he's asking us to make mujtahada, to struggle against ourselves, to better ourselves. We may get there, we may never get there. But what Allah wants from us is, Allah said, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. That we have not ordered the people to do anything except to worship Allah in sincerity. So the sincerity is what Allah wants from us. Now, when we talk about unity, I personally think that the only thing that can unite, so first of all, we need to define what we mean by unity, right? Is it unity in actions, in worship, in understanding? I personally think the only thing that can unite the Muslims, the way we want to see unity happen, is the pure knowledge and understanding of this Deen.
But saying that, I'm just going to quickly, we have so many people that are very well versed. Like I said, I think I did mention, they are well versed. And they have a lot of followers. But that hasn't changed anything really. I mean, are we lacking the understanding or the richness of scholarship? Are we lacking that?
I wouldn't say we're lacking scholarship, But I would say that the Deen today is being translated in different ways, sort of interpreted in different ways.
Hijacked by politics, because a lot of the time we shy away from discussing political issues, or we try and separate Islam from politics, but we can never do that. You see, either there's always either the scholars, like Brother Abu Omar made, that there are some scholars they would use that to get political mileage. Yeah. That's a big issue for us. Isn't it?
I don't think that can ever be a dichotomy between the religion and politics, because as we know, the highest politics is to profess La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah and strive for it in the way of Salah, in the way of Hajj, in the way of Zakah, in the way of Jihad, in the way of what Islam has prescribed for us in terms of ibadat, mu'amalat, and all of these things. Now, if you look at the pre-Islamic Arabs, they used to fight amongst each other to the point that they were so backward, to the point that the Byzantines and the Romans will never approach their land. They took over, occupied the neighboring lands, but they will never approach the Hijazi, the Arabs in the Middle East. Why? Because the land was barren. They had no natural resources. They had nothing to offer. The only thing they had was just camels and dates. But when the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam came, but they had Hajj back then, right? So the mushrikeen of Mecca, they still fed the pilgrims coming from the other parts of Arabia. They gave them water, but they were misguided in the way they performed their Hajj until the Prophet ﷺ came and revived and renewed the Hajj. But Omar radiallahu anhu said that the only thing that united us, and this is where we're going, and this is what I meant by when we say we want to unite this Ummah, we have to see that as Imam Malik said, that what was good for the people before is good for the people later, right? So what was good for the past is good for the present. So Omar radiallahu anhu said, we used to be the lowest of the low, right? Because they used to bury their daughters alive. They used to fight amongst each other for the most simplistic silly things. So your goat came to my compound to graze on my field, and thousands of people will be killed due to that. So the only thing that raised them. Now, when you talk about raising the Arabs, one thing that stood out, it was the unity amongst the people who used to fight amongst themselves. And Allah made reference to this, that He united their heart in Surah, in Surah, I think Surah Tawbah, that they used to fight among each other, but He united them through Islam, through Iman.
However, my question is actually, how did He? To go to the very pinpointly analyze this. True unity cannot come about just by the mere fact of having the knowledge about a particular subject.
I mean, that's the point I'm trying to make.
So the thing is, for example, like if we look at Britain, or if we look at any country, if we look at USA, for example, we find that people with many different diaspora, many different ideas, backgrounds, religion, whether they are lesbians or homosexuals or liberals or conservatives or Marxist or whatever you find, whether they are Labour supporters or Conservative supporters or SNP supporters, you'll find they all have disparity of thoughts and ideas, but they are all united because they all believe that if we have any differences, the last say will belong to our leader,
Prime Minister,
the Parliament. The parliament will make a policy. The parliament will dictate if there's any disparity, if there is a difference, conflicts amongst us. So, for example, when we see in the time of Makkah, yes, all these people were united in terms of like La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. They were all Muslims. Yeah. However, they all obeyed Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "No, this is the course of action you should take," everyone takes that course of action. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Sit," everyone sat. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Go and fight," everyone went and fought. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "This is your enemy," everyone regarded this is our enemy. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "This is our friend," everyone said, "This is our friend." Can you see? When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Okay," he was basically. Unity comes about by obeying a true leader, having a role model and having a leader.
Okay,
and this is actually manifested, through policies.
Okay, I want to read
enshrined in constitution.
I want to read out some.
Otherwise, you cannot have a unity at all.
I want to read out some text. I know we're short for time, so let me quickly read out some texts. The first text, it says, "How come we go to Hajj and come back satisfied, yet the Ummah, wherever they are suffering from disunity, foreign invasion, implementation of non-Islamic rules and laws on us? Why is it that we cannot link the unity of Hajj to the unity of the Ummah?" That's a very good question, actually. Brother Abu Umair, you want to, because you're discussing that, I'll let you take that.
So, the thing is, as I said, Muslims nowadays believe going to Hajj is just a ritual ibadah. Yeah, they, as I said, they think that I'm going to Hajj, I want to, cleanse my sins.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only scope that they look at, Hajj. But Hajj is actually more than that. It's a display of unity. It's a display of not only ritual unity, but it's also a display of political unity. It's a display of statesmanship. It's a display of power of Islam. It's the time to actually show the world that we stand in the face of this world and we are here and we're going to dictate the policies of the world. Yeah, and this is what Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. When Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam actually conquered, Makkah, everyone, all the
surrounding tribes
were really, really quiet and taken aback, because here comes the army. Not only army in the sense of being a soldier. The whole
idea came
to Mecca to take over Mecca, and the circumambulations of the Kaaba, and as I was mentioning about the Ramal, how to actually show the non-believers that were plotting against Islam to be careful about, be careful. We are great in number. We are united under one leadership. We have a view about life, and we're going to enforce this view on ourselves, and we're going to actually take, this view, to those places where people are oppressed, to, release them from the slavery of man to the to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is how the Muslims at that time, viewed, Islam, viewed Hajj, viewed the unity. Unfortunately, the Muslims today do not view, Hajj in this manner. And the problem lies not only with the Muslims, because their curriculum, as I said, has been, cut and pasted when they learnt in their madrasas and in universities. Their whole the way they have been taught Islam is all, it's like, they say that it's a mixed bag, with falsehood and, bit of truth and all that. So if we want to actually undo these things, we really need to actually think about how to actually resume unity.
So how can they do that? I mean
resume unity.
Or how, a Muslim here or Muslim after visiting Hajj, like myself, we come back and we still see disunity, we still see racism, we still see nationalism.
And unfortunately, this is the failure of Islam. And I think one of the ways
this is the failure of Islam.
Okay.
You need a cup of tea.
Okay. This is the failure of the people who actually are propagating Islam, or who actually are.
So do you think the scholars are responsible for this,
the
or
scholars
the
are
madrasas
responsible? and mainly the rulers are responsible.
Okay, fair enough. Fair game. Okay, so let me take another. That's a text. Maybe Abdul Wasil, you can come in. The sheer number of pilgrimage. Oh, this is actually from Farhana from Germany. So we do have listeners who are just not based in UK. Alhamdulillah. So she wrote the sheer numbers of pilgrimage during Hajj. It makes me so proud to be a Muslim. How can we, on a practical level, make the best out of this and carry this unity through other 11 months? So I think what she's saying that within this month there's this aura of like unity, and everyone's very jolly. But next 12 months is like they have racism and they have nationalism and they have wars. So how can we take that to the Ummah and show that look, this unity is something that is continuous? Brother Abdul Wasi.
So, to be honest, I think if you look at the center of every ibadat, right, is the remembrance of Allah. Mm-hmm. The whole essence of performing an act of worship is to remember Allah and to sort of submit to Him. Now here comes submission. Submitting and in order for us to translate the unity in Hajj to the rest of our daily mundane, it's just for us to understand the essence, which is not hard. There are,
I mean, if it's not hard, why is it that
because
we're so divided?
The understanding again.
I mean, someone goes to Hajj,
yes,
and he he may have
the brother said it all.
Yeah, he might have racism. Almost
how many
natural,
okay, so we see
then he comes
people
back and he's still a racist.
Okay, so we watch the Hajj, right? When people, in Mecca, we watch it on the satellite TV, and we say, "Oh, subhanallah, millions of people doing the same thing." The brother said it all. People go to Hajj just for the ritual's sake. They want to be forgiven of their sins. They don't have that understanding about. I think the problem we have as a Ummah is just our understanding, our thinking, our fikr. Our assimilation, the way. So I talked about knowledge earlier on. Definition of knowledge in Europe, right, or in England, is different from definition of knowledge in Islam, because in Islam there is no knowledge except with action. Right. So
but in UK that's the same case, isn't it?
It's not.
I mean, you study because you want to be a doctor, or you want to be a so there is knowledge is practical. In fact, I think the Islamic knowledge is not practical.
Well, exactly. So we know. We have information, but we do not implement it.
I'm going to correct myself. At this present moment, Islamic knowledge that we seek, I can't seek the practicality. So this guy, he goes to Saudi Arabia, he goes to Egypt, he studies the ruling system. He comes back here. The best he can do is to teach. That's it.
It is the action.
But he cannot implement what he's learned. All the ahkam he's learned, he cannot implement. He studies books.
It is the action. It's not the information. The information lies everywhere around us now.
So, it's just the action. I'll disagree with you.
Right?
Because in this country, actually, the knowledge that they seek is practical. Well, so unfortunately, the Muslim world, the knowledge that we see, we can't see the practicality of this.
Because we're not practicing it, is it?
No, I want to actually
we practice. So I was last year. I went for Umrah, and I met one of the shuyukh in one of the little masjid or masalla there. And mashallah, the sheikh eloquently said it that subhanallah, we the Muslim look at the Quran. The Quran is more than what we use it for. We only use Quran for the ni'mah, just for the blessings. It's more than that. Right? So if a person is just reading Surah Yasin just for the blessing of or the significance of reciting Surah Yasin or Surah Kaf, then He's like a person who goes to the doctor or to the GP, and they gave you penicillin,
Just
right? And you use it for the wrong reason. You would only get the benefit.
He just reads the prescription,
Right.
never goes
Exactly.
buys the product.
That's right.
However, but I would like to actually argue, for example, like we see how the prevent has been put in action in this country as well, as well as in other Muslim countries as well. The policies of prevent, meaning that or radicalization, how to stop people radicalization. We know what it means is to actually stop people becoming Islamically engaged or Islamically knowledgeable and participate and act in their life. So for example, if any madrasa or if any mosques were to actually teach, for example, that we should not have 56 leaders, we should not have 56 separate totally independent separate states, which has totally different focus, their own focuses. But we should have like governors in different provinces, and we should have one leader for the Muslims. And thereby, this is the true symbol of unity. I'm sure to say that, the government of those countries would actually clamp down on those madrasas or in those universities and say that, look, you shouldn't be actually teaching those things. Yeah, we believe in, nation-state theory. We believe in nationalism, and this is, actually stepping on the political, arena, and this is not the place for this subject should be taught in the mosques. And we find that this sort of, prevention mechanism will actually quickly kick in and prevented people from actually gaining the knowledge that you're saying. So this is the problem, like we were saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So where I would agree.
So our massages have been viciously undermined, and they almost do not serve the purpose of the real essence of what a masjid should be. It is where the people went to seek knowledge. It is where the practicality of knowledge started from.
Absolutely, that's my point.
Yeah,
the point that you've made, that look, at this present moment, if you look at the scholarships and the learning that Muslims go away. I know brothers who go away to Egypt and Saudi Arabia and they study 4 or 5 years. When they come back, the best they can do, very best they can do is teach students. That's it. They don't have, see, you talk about the attacks or the Islamophobic attack, whether it is Syria, whether it is prevent, whether it is teaching our children, whether it is anything. They're blind to this. They don't have anything to say. They don't have any ahkam, any rulings on this. And that's why I was saying that how is it practical? So I think you made the point, which is very good, that look, the masajid and our ulama, they need to show Islam from a practical basis. That look, practically how does it solve? And this is what's missing. I believe this is what's missing.
Can I just add one point over here? I mean, the brother Wasil was saying that how knowledge is important. And nowadays, because we have been threatened with getting the correct knowledge, because of this prevent policies and radicalization policies, not only in the West but also in the Muslim countries, we have forgotten the very understanding of sacrifice. And I think this Hajj actually teaches us, one of the biggest things that this Hajj teaches us is about sacrifice, because it actually commemorates a lot of the points within the Hajj about the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So the Safa and the Marwa, how he actually left, his wife Hagar, in the wilderness,
and stoning as well.
Attending to the call of Allah, leaving the child. Also, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has actually asked Ibrahim alayhi salam to actually slaughter his own son, which he actually, found when he he received, through his, marriage, at the age of, let's say, 70 plus. Allah asked him to, slaughter his own son. He, Ibrahim alayhi salam, was willing to slaughter his own son. And when he was going to slaughter his own son, he found that Shaitan was whispering to him, "What you're doing? This is your only son." And this is why we actually pebble throw the stones at the Shaitan. So these are all points about the fact that we actually sacrifice an animal. It's again commemorating the sacrifice of Ibrahim alayhi salam. But this essence of sacrificing for the Deen, standing up for the Deen, no matter what it takes, no matter even if it goes against my son or against my life, standing up for the true values of Islam, no matter how much clampdown the state apparatus puts on us, or the those ulama who actually are on the salary of the government, they put on us, or they actually whatever they want to actually do to us, we need to actually sacrifice for the sake of Islam. And this essence has actually been misunderstood, is lost. All it is has become a personal issue. I want to just wash my sins, but why? Allah has given all this remembrance of Ibrahim alayhi salam, but we have forgotten for what.
Brother Abdul Wasil, last thing, we're coming. Do you know what? It's just warming up, and we've just we're running out of time. So Abdul Wasil, last words from you, and then we'll have to end it here, I'm afraid.
So last point. I mean, the scholars, they would say that al-ilm bila amal la yakun, that knowledge without practice is nothing, right? And then if you look at from the abwab of Imam Malik, Imam Bukhari in his Sahih Bukhari, the first chapter is chapter about knowledge, because there's nothing, you can't practice Islam if you don't know what you're doing, right? The reason the pre-Islamic Arabs went astray is because they forgot the knowledge of the Deen that has been passed down to them from Ibrahim alayhi salam. So Imam Malik has a bab al-ilm qabla al-qawli wal-amal. Before you do anything, you have to understand what you're doing, right? You have to have the knowledge before you be able to practice. And the brother talked about sacrifice. Sacrifice is from the actions. Every actions of worship in Islam, it requires, you have to leave your time to go for salah. You have to leave your provision to go for Hajj. You have to give the best part of your property for zakah, right? Ramadan, you have to stay away from your spouse. You have to stay away from eating and drinking. It's all sacrifice, and it's all part of action. So lastly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that in Surah Mujaddala, that inna khalaqnakum ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعْارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. That all mankind, we have created you in different nations and tribe, not for you to despise each other or to look down upon each other, but for you, the only essence is for you to recognize, to know the capabilities of each other. And the best amongst you is the one who has the most piety. We ask Allah to unite our hearts.
Amen. Jazakallah khair, brother Abdul Wasi. I'll have to end it here. Time's up, I'm afraid. Thanks to the brothers for coming down and discussing this important topic, inshallah. I know we've discussed many things, and if we've said anything wrong, please do forgive us. It's just sometimes you
slip
do
of a tongue.
Slip of a tongue, and you do get carried away. So inshallah, I've really enjoyed the show. Hope you brothers have enjoyed. This doesn't end here. You can have straight talk with a live audience. Next event is on the 6th of October next month. If you'd like to attend and would like to take part, please contact us via our website, which is straight-talk.co.uk, or you can text us on 07477 080248 with your name, contact and age, inshallah. Special thanks to all our listeners for listening and contributing to this show. Again, thank you for listening to Middle Path Radio. I hope you have a nice evening. Till next Thursday. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Middle Path Radio, your number one online Islamic talk station.